fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us. For real.
My man Justin, what's cracking today?
Bro, I'm surprised you haven't popped out the champagne bottles.
Nah,
and getting
man,
excited.
Hey, just like Kobe, we ain't done anything yet.
Job ain't finished, man.
Hey, job ain't finished. That's right,
Job
baby.
ain't finished, man. Oh, man, I'm excited for this episode of Total BS Podcast, man. I know you're hyped. I know you got your, is that the Devin Armani shirt that you're wearing?
That Armani mode, baby.
Armani mode.
Yeah, you go to Sadaka, you can go to the Sun Solar Panel page and you can buy one of your own for just $25, man, and it feels great.
Get your merch.
There you go.
It looks comfy.
Dude, it's super comfy.
And I'm sure with the state of the Suns right now, it's even more comfortable.
Oh man, it's we're living the dream right now, but you've been there, you've done that, you know how it is. So we'll get right into it. We already did the intro and everything, so let's get to cracking. We'll go ahead and start off with those Suns. What's your level of surprise or level of impression on what this Phoenix team has done so far?
I'm going to start off with the fan base first and foremost, because the fan base just is so excited about something that hasn't been done in 28 years. And I see a lot of obnoxious Lakers fans coming at Phoenix Suns fans saying, like, yo, act like you've been there. Like, I saw a clip of I think it was the 2010 Western Conference Finals, and it was after the Lakers, moved on to the NBA Finals, and they were handing them the trophy in the locker room. And it was just dead silent because these guys were trained. We're not trying to get to the freaking Western Conference Finals. The end goal is to win the NBA Finals. So they were all just quiet, very reserved, very Kobe-like. Whereas the Phoenix Suns, like that moment with Chris Paul, where as the clock was ticking down, he looked over at Monty Williams and was like, I can't hold my excitement. And Monty Williams was like, you're going to the NBA Finals. And like that moment together, like it was almost as if they won the championship. But I mean, all they're doing is just going to the next level.
Yeah.
But it's something that hasn't been done in so long. And this franchise has just been aching for something like this for a long, long time now. And you know what? I'm just going to be that Lakers fan that's like, I'm an ally. I'm gonna join the Phoenix Suns bandwagon. I hope they win the NBA Finals, because it's just great for the state of Arizona, and honestly, it's great for the franchise, and it's great for the NBA for a team to never win an NBA championship and now be 4 wins away. I think it's just absolutely incredible, and also to do it with house money. This isn't a super team. This isn't a bunch of superstars that were just added in the offseason, put together and like, okay, hey, go do something. Like, look at what happened with the Brooklyn Nets. Injuries happened. They imploded. With the Phoenix Suns, they stayed the course. They have guys that they drafted, and they just so happen to add in a 36-year-old point guard, and now they're 4 wins away from an NBA championship. Dude, it's freaking awesome, man. I'm happy for the Suns.
It's easy to say, act like you've been there before when you're there like every 5 or 10 years, right?
100%.
It's a little easier to say that, and it's also easier to have that mentality, as you were talking about with the Lakers in the locker room with Kobe, when Kobe went to the finals within his first 4 years of being in the league, you know what I mean? And then they won 3 in a row. So when you get to that 4th or 5th championship or that 4th or 5th ride, it's 2010, you're like, I've been here 4 times before. I'm trying to get my 5th title. Like, act like you've been here before is a little easier to say and swallow. But for a group of individuals who have never been there, especially Chris Paul, 16 years in the league, he's come close, basically only one other time with the Rockets when they should have beaten the Golden State Warriors. But then he gets injured with his hamstring and he's out, It's so bitter, those pills you have to swallow, that when you finally get over the hump, it's like, oh my gosh, the euphoria that you feel, just to get into that moment, it can't be understated. And for a franchise, Justin, the length to go from 72 to 93. I was born in 79. 72 was the last time the Suns were in the NBA Finals. So when that length of time between that time, 72 and 93, and then from 93 to now, the length of time was longer in this last portion than it was the first portion. I wasn't even born for that first portion. So to me, I'm like, man, it really has been almost 30 years. That is crazy. So, I'm excited for this franchise. As a longtime Suns fan, there were some lean years, man. Some really, really hard years where you just had to, try to persist and stay positive. But 2 years ago when DeAndre Ayton gets, drafted, he's in the franchise and they only win 19 games and they lose 66, I think. Man, it was tough. Man, it was so tough. You know what I mean? But you get through it, and now they're on the cusp of possibly winning their first championship. And if the Hawks get there, it will be the first championship for one of those two franchises, which I think is remarkable. And for all those people who are talking about this as a star-driven league, it is a star-driven league. Don't get me wrong. But I think the NBA ratings are telling you that people like new and they like fresh and they like something that's a little bit different from time to time. And so not seeing LeBron in the NBA Finals again, you know what I mean? Or Steph Curry even, he's been in the finals, 4 out of the last 6 years, it's a little old. So now you're getting a new wave, a fresh look to the NBA and the NBA Finals that I think the NBA is going to realize and capitalize on a little bit more. And I don't think the markets really matter anymore because I think people will watch.
I'm just curious though, because LeBron and Steph, when they were in the finals for so many years going against each other, people started to compare it to, okay, this could be like modern day Magic versus Bird. These are the Lakers versus the Celtics. They're going to meet each other in the NBA Finals every single year. But people seem like they got tired of it, where I don't really, and I wasn't around then, but I don't really think people got tired of Magic Johnson versus Larry Bird in the NBA Finals every single year.
Well, I think there's a couple things that go to that. First, the Celtics and the Lakers were not super teams, right? They weren't constructed as super teams, right? They had some draft assets. They made some trades, you know what I mean? Like those kind of things. Whereas it wasn't, Magic didn't go to, Bird and Michael Jordan and say, hey, let's join forces and play on the same team together. And I think that rubs people the wrong way. And there's an inorganic nature about doing that, right?
Yeah.
With Harden and KD and Irving. It's almost like you're trying to steal a championship or you're trying to force your way into a championship without really going through. People like to know that you had to go through a certain series of things to get to where you're at. And if you just try to shortcut it, I don't think people appreciate that as much. You know what I mean? So that's why people give credit to the 2015 Warrior or 14 Warriors 15 Warriors who won the championship without KD and beat LeBron and the Cavs, even though Kyrie Irving got hurt in game one. They give more credit to that than any of the KD championships that the Warriors won. And the reason why is because they did it organically, just like the Suns did. They drafted Steph Curry. They drafted Klay Thompson. They drafted Draymond Green. Those three didn't combine on their own. So it was an organic thing, and people were excited to see that, and it was something new, which reminds me of what's going on right now with the Suns. You have Devin Booker, drafted by the Suns. DeAndre Ayton, drafted by the Suns. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, all drafted by the Suns. And then you add those little small pieces like Jay Crowder and Chris Paul that make it what it is right now. Cam Payne was out of the league. He was over in China. You know what I mean? And then got the call and came back to play with Monty because Monty wanted to take a chance on him because he believed in him. Anybody could have had Cam Payne. Nobody wanted Cam Payne. And he came out, showed out, and he was just as vital as Chris Paul in the series against the Clippers, basically cemented that game 2 win outside of the, obviously the Valley-oop. So there's so much that goes into some of these teams and the trials and tribulations and the Chris Paul story and Devin Booker, being called empty calories when he scores. It's like now they're there and they did it the right way, in my opinion. They didn't cheat the system. They didn't try to make it a shortcut. They did it the right way, and they did it in only 2 years, which is remarkable. So
I remember walking in downtown San Francisco with you during the NCAA tournament. And we were just, having a great time, going to all these restaurants, going to check out the Nike store. And then we get this notification that Devin Booker scores 70 points. But the Phoenix Suns lost. And like you would see the photo of Devin Booker holding up the number 70 and all the guys around them. You see like, who was on that team then? Like Dragon Bender and Josh Jackson and like just a bunch of bums. And I think it was just so awesome because the Instagram photo that was put out there, I don't know if you know this, but Jay Crowder commented on it then and said it's like, look at a bunch of happy dudes after an L. But that was the state of the Suns then. And like the fact that Devin Booker had to score 70 points just for them to be competitive in that game. Now he can have not a night off, but just a casual performance. And he can rely on Chris Paul, rely on DeAndre Ayton, and rely on all the role players to carry the load. And honestly, it's really great to see. And you know what? Monty Williams is showing why he was snubbed for Coach of the Year. I like Tom Thibodeau. I think, he's a solid coach, but you don't deserve to win NBA Coach of the Year just because you take the Knicks to the first round of the NBA playoffs and
get done in 5 games.
And get done in 5 games by the Atlanta Hawks, which could, go to the NBA Finals, but you're in a big market, so of course that's going to help you out. But what Monty Williams has done, it's so ridiculous.
If Monty Williams and the Phoenix Suns were in New York, Monty Williams would have won every single vote of that Coach of the Year trophy. He would have. For sure. Nobody else would have voted for Tom Thibodeau. If Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks were actually the Phoenix Suns, it wouldn't have happened. And that's what I think is the farce there. It's a damn lie. You can't sit there and tell me that Monty Williams didn't do as good or better job as Tom Thibodeau. So, but I digress. When we move forward, and I know we've been talking about the Suns, but the Bucks and the Hawks, they're about to wrap up their series. Only 2 games left if the Hawks can win Game 6. Trae Young battling injuries, Giannis battling injuries. It's almost a survival of the fittest. Who you got coming out of that series and why?
I'm still going to go with the Milwaukee Bucks. I just think the role players has the upper hand in this series. I thought Chris Middleton has shown why he's one of the better complementary pieces in the NBA over the last game, and also Brook Lopez too. Just a casual, 33 points that he scored in that game. Another big man who just kind of became mild. Nobody really wanted him, or teams wanted him, but he just didn't have a significant role in that game the other night. When Giannis is out, Splash Mountain was in full effect. Chris Middleton has been awesome. Drew Holiday is an unbelievable guard. Like the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, have the better chance of beating the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals, even without Giannis. But with that being said, if they want to beat the Phoenix Suns, they're going to need a Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think when it's all said and done, I think Milwaukee is going to close it out. Those bone bruises, man. Bone bruises are difficult injuries to go through, and Trae Young's dealing with that. So, I got the Bucks coming out of the Eastern Conference and going to the NBA Finals, and against the Phoenix Suns, man. That the Bucks versus the Suns. You want to talk about a storybook finish? Who's the franchise that took away Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Phoenix Suns?
You know who it is. I don't want to say it.
So exactly, the Bucks, and I think, with all the injuries that have favored the Phoenix Suns, and I'm not going to put an asterisk. I actually talked to your boy Espo on radio earlier this week, and we're kind of on the same page. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns have gotten pretty lucky when it comes to injuries along the way in the playoffs and getting to this point. Obviously, star players were injured, but you can't discredit them because you know what? They got the job finished. They didn't go to 7 games. They took care of their business, and they advanced to every single round, and they were just awaiting for their next opponent. So this isn't going to be an asterisk championship for the Phoenix Suns. This isn't going to be a footnote season. Is it an interesting way to win a championship for a young Suns team? Absolutely. But I'm not going to discredit them, even if the Bucks are injured in the next round with Giannis. So
no, I mean every team goes through trials and tribulations throughout the season, and sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes those injuries, for all
the
those
Raptors.
People, everybody's talking about, like, okay, well, you guys had this, and injury and whatever. I mean, again, I go back. Chris Paul injured again in the Western Conference Finals. They They were up by, I think, 30 in that game 7, and then they choked it away and they lost. Chris Paul would have stopped that from happening. He just would have. And the Houston Rockets would have went to the NBA Finals, but they didn't. And he got injured. But nobody says it's an asterisk on the Golden State Warriors. So, again, that, the Toronto Raptors, as you mentioned, every year we can go back and talk about this injury, that injury, whatever. But hey, it is what it is. The Suns took advantage of what they were supposed to do. They won the games they were supposed to win, and they also did it without Chris Paul twice, and they did it with a Chris Paul injured in the first round against the Lakers. Basically, that entire series until the last game, it looked like he was finally himself. So for all those naysayers who want to put this, there's always some stupid ass person out there that wants to put a caveat on all this dumb stuff, and it's like, you know what? Sit your ass in your room, stay on your keyboard, and just shut up, because it doesn't matter. A championship is a championship, and nobody will remember who the hell was injured during that season when they look up and they see the banner up there in the sky. That's all that matters. So,
but if the Hawks were to somehow go to the NBA Finals, let's say they, get Trae Young back, they make this a series, and then they take it the distance and win. So you got Nate McMillan versus Monty Williams. To me, those have been the top 2 coaches in the NBA this year. Monty Williams is coach of the year. Nate McMillan took over a Hawks team that was on pace to go to the lottery. They weren't going to even be in the playoffs, and now they're going to be in the NBA Finals. Of course, if they beat the Milwaukee Bucks. So, man, it's just great basketball right now. It's new, it's refreshing, and it's going to be interesting to see this finals matchup. So yeah, for sure. Hey, other big news this week, obviously NIL got approved. July 1st was the first day athletes could start profiting off of their likeness and their image. And man, deals are coming in left and right. Show me the money.
Right now, I know this morning Spencer Rattler signed a deal with Raising Cane's. Yeah,
no
there you
way.
Go. Yeah, Raising Cane's out there. Defensive end Antoine Owens, a Jackson State defensive end. So he's from HBCU, struck a deal with Three Kings Grooming, a black-owned hair product shop. So there's a local angle to this. There's a national angle to this. De'Aaron King from the University of Miami rolled out an expansive deal on Thursday morning, and he's going to promote college hunks hauling junk and moving. So, which in his monthly payment from College Hunks will be about $10,000 and can go all the way up to $20,000. So there are entities out there that are trying to get some of these athletes, and I think the biggest fear was it was only going to be the higher profile athletes. Nope. Fresno State has a pair of twins, twin guards, Hannah and Haley Cavender, who are TikTok famous, and they have, I think, something over 3 million followers along TikTok and Instagram. Yep. And they signed a deal with Boost Mobile on Thursday morning as well to promote their stuff. So, I mean, it is rough shot all over the place. Justin Ross, Matt Blackhorst. I mean, these are people that you don't necessarily know. They're not household names. Some people do. But these are athletes that have understood the value that they provide, whether it be on the court or in social media specifically. And there's local entities and national entities that see that, and they're like, well, we can use that to our advantage. And they're paying these athletes the money that they deserve, because they should be able to profit off their likeness. And what I think it also proves, at least I'm hopeful, that this is not going to be one of those scenarios where if you live in Los Angeles, you're going to get Los Angeles money. But if you live in New Mexico, you're going to get New Mexico money, because 2 girls from Fresno State, Fresno State, in the middle of California where nobody really wants to live, let's be honest about that, they just profited big time off of a national entity like Boost Mobile. How did that happen? It's because their social media following is that strong. And that's the reason why I think a lot of these brands are going to be targeting some of these athletes for opportunities and money.
I was one of those guys that thought, well, this is great, but if they move forward with this, USC, UCLA, the LA schools, I mean, they're going to clean house, because there's just so much more opportunity in Los Angeles than, say, I don't know, Corvallis, Oregon. But social media has just completely opened the door for a lot of these kids. And I was looking at, a guy like Bijan Robinson, who's been on Total BS podcast before. The first day that he was like, I'm trying to benefit off my name, image, likeness. A lot of these guys are going on Cameo.
Yeah.
It's easy money for them. And you know what? It's going to probably pay bills. It's going to probably give money back to their families because, a lot of these student athletes, they don't come from well-off families that are just sitting on a bunch of money. So a lot of these kids, I mean, they are in a way providers for their family. And, Bijan Robinson said, okay, I'm on charging $100 for every Cameo video. And so if you want a birthday message, if you want a motivational message, then $100, and then I will send it your way. I checked the next day or 2 days later, and it went from $100 to $125. And to quote somebody on Twitter, the price of the brick just went up.
Yeah.
But no, but it's great. It's not just Cameo though. Like I was looking at Hersey Miller, son of Percy Miller, aka Master P.
Yeah.
He just signed as a guard with Tennessee State. Now I get it. Being the son of Master P certainly helps out, but he just signed a $2 million deal to become a brand ambassador for Web Apps America, a tech company that specializes in web, mobile, and software solutions. So all these companies from all walks of life are all coming at these student athletes because, like you said, Saul, they see the social media following. They see the Instagram followers, and they're like, whoa, this guy's got over 100,000 followers. All we got to do is just pay him money so he could put this on his feed and get people to come to our company.
$2 million.
Dude, $2 million. Like
that's crazy.
Saul, we are officially in the wild, wild west of college athletics. It is going to be a free-for-all, and I'm curious to see how the NCAA looks to regulate it. And will there possibly be a cap for these student athletes? I don't think there should be, but
you can't. If it's a free society, you can't.
But
you can't put a limit on any of this stuff.
And all you got
again, it's who you know, right? Like Percy Miller obviously has connections from his dad as well. That probably helped a little bit. Try to get this deal done. And he's at Tennessee State.
Tennessee State, yeah.
Like again, it doesn't matter where you're going. It's you, the individual, who can make it happen. And one of the byproducts of this, and this is, I think, is going to be very interesting, right? Think about all those athletes right now that are getting hyped up. And they're deciding whether or not they should come out and go pro or, X, Y, and Z, right? You might find college athletics more lucrative than going pro. And the reason why is because if you go pro and you're not that superstar in that local market, you're just like, for instance, Alonzo Trier and Raleigh Alkins, right? Remember those two guys from the U of A days, right? Those two guys didn't have flourishing NBA careers by any stretch of the imagination. Alonzo Trier played for almost 2 years and then is now trying to maintain himself in the league. Raleigh Alkins isn't even on an NBA roster. He's just playing at, like, I think the local LA Fitness kind of stuff right now and trying to make his way in a lawsuit with eyebrows and all this other stuff. But we're not going to go down that road.
He's dealing with something else.
We're not going to go down that road. But had this been an opportunity for them here in Arizona and the Tucson market, there definitely might have been some opportunities for them to be able to, reap some revenue. And perhaps they want to stay all 4 years because it's more lucrative for them, and also, let's take a freshman, right? Let's say I'm a freshman. I come into whatever school, ASU or GCU or whatever, and I got a lot of hype going on about me, right? These kids are going to start to learn the business side of all this, because when brands are like, nah, we want to end our partnership deal with you because we didn't get the return on investment that we thought we were going to get when we first brought you in. Your performance on the court has been trash. You haven't been as good as we thought you were going to be. You were kind of okay. The hype is kind of gone with you. And then those dollars start to dry up. You're going to tell yourself, man, I really should not go to the league right now because I'm not even good enough to fucking get sponsorships deals locally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, So you gotta start to reassess your own value, and it's going to cause a lot more. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. But I am encouraged here in the early going that this isn't, it wasn't all of a sudden like all the USC and UCLA type players that were getting these big, huge sponsorship deals. And I mean, it seems like it's pretty spread across all over the country. There's guys, there's guys from Iowa already inking deals. People, as I said, Fresno State, North Carolina, in all different sports. Not only because of their excellence on the court or on the field, but also because of what they bring social media wise. And now the important thing here to remember is they can't use their likeness from a game. So you can't use game images because you can't have the school be a part of your branding. So it's completely on their own, which changes that fact. And that's what changes this, right? If I'm Raleigh Alkins or Alonzo Trier and I'm playing for the University of Arizona, when I'm part of your brand, the University of Arizona cannot be a part of that. Yeah. So it's just me. So if you think I can sell your stuff, then let's go. Let's do it, because that's all it is. So if I'm in New York and I don't pay attention to who the hell is the guard at U of A, and I see some random dude on a T-Mobile ad, and I'm like, who the hell is that? Does that make me want to buy that brand any more than anything else? Probably not. Yeah. You know what I mean? So those are the aspects that a lot of these companies and brands have to think about before. That's why the social media thing is so valuable. And that's why so many of these athletes, if they have a strong social media following, they've been there and they have a huge presence. That's what these companies are buying. They're buying influencers. That's what they're buying.
Yeah. And I think with social media now, you can get away with benefiting off of name, image, likeness, to where at a time pre-social media, you probably couldn't do it, and it was going to be in classes. Like when you talk about how is this going to affect the smaller sports, and will this kind of put people in different class like kings and queens, and then everyone else is peasants. That probably was the case back when like Brian Bosworth was playing football at the University of Oklahoma. Like, I got me thinking about like older athletes and like who would really benefit from this. I was like thinking about Brian Bosworth, Lou Alcindor at UCLA, or I can't believe I'm mentioning his name, but O.J. Simpson. Think about O.J. at USC in the early parts of his career and how much money he would have made. But
it's the entities, right? It's the perception. Like Boz has a distinct haircut. Like you can't miss Boz. You know who Boz is.
You know Boz.
The Fab Five.
If
the Fab Five would have been together on any marketing, dude, those guys would have made insane money.
Millions.
Dude, crazy money. Crazy.
So, at that point in time, name, image, and likeness, benefiting off of that. I mean, it probably would have looked a little suspect. Now with social media, and not just, one platform, several platforms. And it seems like every few years, a new platform is created. Think about how big TikTok has become. TikTok is huge now. And so many people like Sedona Prince from the University of Oregon, a women's basketball player, she has thousands of TikTok followers. And ever since that video of exposing the weight room disparities between the women's tournament and the men's tournament, I mean, it's increased. So many people are paying attention to these athletes regardless of their sport because social media has completely opened the floodgates. Now I'm just wondering what's going to happen. We're just in the infancy stages right now, but there's always a loophole, right? There's always crooks, sharks, looking to take advantage of any opportunity. So is there ever going to come a time where some of these student athletes are being taken advantage of by companies or agents? And this is why I think it's very important for schools to get behind this right now. I saw at the University of Arizona, and I'm sure a lot of other schools are doing this. They have programs that brings all the student athletes in, and they're teaching them on how to market themselves, how to manage and be professional as they learn to become professionals, right? Because these are all teenagers, people in their early 20s. They don't have all the answers. They don't know all these things. But if they bring in professionals that could teach them and educate them on how to market themselves and benefit off their name, image, or likeness and do it in a professional way and not get scammed then I think that's great. So
And I think that's where you set yourself apart if you're a school or a university, right?
get behind it now.
You have those programs in place like, hey, you come in here and we can't promise you X amount of dollars at all, but we can teach you and give you the tools that you need to be able to enhance those assets that you do have to the best of your abilities to make as much money as you can on your own. That's what the purpose of school is, right? That's the fundamental point of school, is to come in and to be able to develop the skills that you need to be able to make a living. And that's what in athletics should be no different. Whatever level, if you're a softball player, if you're a badminton star, I don't care what it is. Like, I don't know how many schools have badminton, but that's part of it, right? Like the education of it. So it's truly fascinating. I'm excited to see. I'm excited, but I'm also, there's a little bit of trepidation. I don't want
tread lightly.
Crazy, yeah, for sure. But one thing I am excited about, because it's coming back, baby. NCAA college football. Let's go. Let's go.
But here's my concern with NCAA football. So you can't have like direct affiliation with the school in order to make the money, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of NCAA football? Like you're putting like the names on the back of these kids' jerseys in a football game, so it's technically that player in that game, but they're wearing the school's logo on the uniform.
So I think what it's going to be, it's kind of like the NFL and the NFLPA, right? So you have the NFL who's giving you the licensing to use, or the rights to use their licensing, right? Like all the logos and all the bells and whistles that come with that. And then you have the NFLPA, which is the Players Association. Without the NFLPA, then you don't have the game with all the names of the players. If the NFLPA wasn't on board, it'd be Madden NFL football with a bunch of team logos, and you wouldn't know any of the players. But because the NFLPA also signs the agreement, they're in conjunction with it, and then they can combine the two and do it that way. That's going to be the thing going on right now. I think I read somewhere where they're trying to develop some type of like association or whatever, to where college athletes can sign in or buy in and give approval for their likeness for something like that in a joint effort. And then if they use their likeness in the game, then they would reap a benefit. They would reap a profit off of it. That, like Darth Vader said, they never had their names. You had to download the rosters, and others created the names. Yeah, totally understand that part. But you knew who number 5 for USC was when you were playing in 2005 with the USC Trojans in college football. You knew that was Reggie Bush, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was the fastest kid out there, and he was number 5. Like, that was Reggie Bush. And that's using his likeness. And so without that, you can't use that type of, those stats or those metrics or whatever. And I think they're trying to combine that to where that would be okay to do. But I don't know how that works. So it's really confusing, and we're not even going to get into that at this point. Also legally confusing, marijuana. And let's just talk about that.
Yeah.
For the life of me, and we're going to talk about Sha'Carri Richardson here in a second. Sha'Carri Richardson, sprinter, U.S. Olympic team. She was she qualified for the Olympics to race in the 100. Unfortunately, she had the death of her mother. She smoked some weed to kind of, deal with that. And she got busted for marijuana in her system, and she's basically suspended for, I think, 60 days, and which means she's going to miss the Olympics. It's a travesty, to be honest with you, from my perspective, when we're talking about 30 days. My bad.
30 days. She's only going to miss the 100-meter race. She's still going to take part. If as it looks right now, she's still going to take part in the 4x100. Okay,
well, still, that's the race she wanted to participate in the most, right? That's your individual.
That's
glory.
the individual, yeah.
And it's just, we're really in this day and age where we can't pass a federal law on marijuana use, but each state can, and it makes absolutely no sense. And then to throw it in there, and the IOC, who also had another outlandish ruling about black women and the caps that they want to, the swim caps that they want to wear, because they said it was a competitive advantage, even though it's not even close to a competitive advantage. There was a swim cap company that specifically makes swim caps for black women because of the volume of the hair that they have. I'm sorry, but as a black man, my hair does not get matted down and like it just doesn't fall to the side like typical white people do. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't. Like it still has bounce. And so I can understand where black women are coming from when it comes to that. And they struck down that ruling and told them that they basically have to wear the same swim caps everybody else wears, which is it's just asinine. It's just asinine. So the IOC is just as much at fault here as the our own personal federal government. I just think that the marijuana discussion is so 1970, 80, and 90 that it absolutely needs to go. I don't believe I certainly believe that athletes use marijuana to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety, and to deal with depression. And I think they should be allowed to do that. And I don't think that there should be anything wrong with that. I don't understand this. We are in 2021 and we still have idiots running the world that don't understand the medical benefits of marijuana.
36 states, I believe, have it for medicinal purposes. Not really sure where the count is for recreational as well, but she tested in Oregon, right? That's where they had the trials at. Mm-hmm. Wasn't Oregon like the second state to legalize it recreationally?
Something like that.
So she smoked weed legally in a state where it's legal. Okay. And oh man, this is just, I have so many thoughts going through my head right now. There's just so much to unpack with this, but here we go. Sha'Carri Richardson is one of the fastest people in the world right now. And she's getting ready for the Olympics. And she's dealing with the death of her mother. So rather than turning to alcohol or opioids or other ways of coping with grief, she turned to marijuana, which is used medicinally for anxiety and stress.
19 states have it for recreational use.
19 states, okay. So she did it legally, and I will say this, though. She knew the rules and where marijuana stands with the Olympics, sure. Right? If you're training for the Olympics, like you have to know what's on the banned substance list and what can get you in trouble. And you know what? She took accountability for that. She said, I completely understand the punishment. She was a complete adult about it. If I'm Sha'Carri Richardson and I'm an Olympic athlete and you take away an event that could possibly win me gold, and it's not like the Olympics happen every single year, like, oh, I'll just be back next year. It happens every 4 years. Yeah. So for you to take that away from me, she was a bigger adult than me because I would have acted in a different way. And you know what, man? It's marijuana. If they don't test for alcohol, what if she showed up to the event drunk? What if she was just so intoxicated, so boozed up, and she still won the event? Is she still going to race? She was still under the influence. And you know what? She ran a 10.800. If she was high then and she ran a 10.8, bro, she deserves to be in the Olympics. It's like she smoked the competition, pun intended.
Jeez.
And then on top of that, I like Emmanuel Acho a lot. But the tweet yesterday, I don't know if you saw that, but he tweeted that, anybody can smoke weed and run track. But are we going to trust people who smoke weed and throw javelin? And I'm like,
bro.
He was like, where do we draw the line in the sand? I'm like, okay.
We don't.
My guy. People aren't taking bong rips and then going and throwing javelin. People aren't taking bong rips. Like, people are making it seem like Sha'Carri Richardson walked into the track just smoking a blunt.
You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, man. And I feel so bad for her because this isn't a performance enhancing drug, And out of all the drugs she tested positive for, drugs, It was marijuana, not performance enhancing drugs, not anything. And I'm like, it's just so frustrating to me. And listen, I get it. The rules are rules. And I've heard that, and I applaud her for taking accountability. But this is just such an archaic way of thinking, and we just need to get with the times, bro. It is 2021. Marijuana is legal across medicinally and recreationally in 19 states. 36 medicinal for can't even talk right now, for medicinal purposes. I'm at a loss for words right now, man.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've said what I said, and I disagree with it, but, hey, it is what it is, and we move on, and she'll move on. And like you said, she's handled it with grace, and she's been upfront about it and why she did it. And hey, there it is. So, well, it's been a while, but, we took a little 2-week break, but, it's kind of hard to transition from weed to dad jokes. But you know what? If you were on weed, the dad jokes probably seem a little funnier. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. Justin, I'm going to go ahead and start it right off the bat. What did Jay-Z call his fiance? What did Jay-Z call? God damn it! Never mind.
Fiance.
God damn it! I screwed it all up. Go ahead. You can go.
All right. I have a Tevin Campbell joke, but enough messing around. Can we talk?
What's the opposite of a croissant?
What's that?
A happy uncle.
Okay.
Get it? Croissant.
Croissant. This is a very music-driven dad joke segment for me today.
Okay.
I have a Tupac joke. How do you want it?
Oh my God. Yesterday, my kids are here. And they misplaced things all over the place. And I was like, hey, has anybody seen my Gone in 60 Seconds DVD? It was here a minute ago.
And it was gone in 60 seconds. All right. I have a SWV joke.
Okay.
But it's weak.
Oh my God. What part of the body always loses?
Hair.
Defeat.
All right. I have a Jodeci joke.
Okay.
But it'll take forever, my lady.
Oh my God.
I know. Not my best work this week. I'm sorry.
My last one. The inventor of Velcro died. R.I.P. And that's that joke.
I don't like Velcro, man. It's such a ripoff.
And that's dad jokes for this week. And that's another episode of the Total BS podcast. As always, Justin, tell them where they can find us.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. Be safe this weekend. We'll be back as soon as we can. We appreciate, all of our people who've been down with us. And you know what? I'm just going to put it out there, Saul. If you want to be a Total BS podcast athlete, then you need to hit us up. I'm not promising that we're going to give you buku bucks, but if you want to be the first Total BS athlete ever, that you need to hit us up. Saul Bookman, Justin Spears, be a Total BS athlete, represent us. We appreciate it. But all seriousness, I appreciate everyone who subscribes to us, who listens to us, and you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us also on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Total BS is everywhere. And please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, comment, share with all your friends, do all the above. And we appreciate you. Happy 4th of July.
There we go, baby. And that's another episode of the Total BS podcast. I'm about to go do some yoga, so we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I don't tear a ligament in my hammies. And we're good to go until we see you next time. See you when we see you. Peace.
Yo, your fans just might turn into our fans. Be cool, it's just a part of this program. Spit your best 16 if you must. You not whack, you just sound whack rapping after us.